Transforce96 here with another video review. This time we have from the Avengers Age of Ultron line from Hot Toys Scarlet Witch. So this is one of my most anticipated figures of the year. Really looking forward to this one when it was first shown, and it was a day one pre-order for me, and I'm really happy and excited to actually get it. So let's go over the figure, but before we go into the figure, let's go over her accessories. She has a nice variety of hands. You have a total of 8, 5 for the right side and 3 for the left. Overall, I really usually when I get a Hot Toys figure, am disappointed in the hands they come with. They come with the standard hands, pair of fists, pair of relaxed palms, and hands to hold their weapons or accessories, and that's it. I really do like expressive hands, even if it's just, a right open hand, that's, kind of clenching, kind of like, this one over here that's not doing too much, but that's just kind of open, can be used a little bit more expressively. I like that type of hand, so usually I'm quite disappointed with figures nowadays that usually just come with the standards and don't come with anything interesting or exciting to do dynamic poses with. This figure, however, is completely the opposite. Comes with a variety of hands, all using different expressions and just crazy ones. You have the standard relaxed palms. You have 2 hands that are open more, not doing anything too crazy, but that do have the red translucent fingers. You have 1 hand that's meant for holding the Ultron heart. And then you have 3 hands, 2 for the right, 1 for the left, that are doing really kind of weird clenching and expressions and just really cool stuff. I love this, having the first 2 fingers out and having the back 2 really curled in a whole lot. You've got this one where the back 2 are curled up a bit more, and then the first 2 are spread out more, like she's kind of, shooting something almost. And then this is my favorite hand, just kind of all crazy. It's like it's like, Spider-Man having, just kind of spazzing out as he's shooting his web type of thing. Really crazy. So I really do love these hands. I think they're detailed really nicely with all of her jewelry and bracelets on them as well. And then the fact that that they have translucent red, I think, was an excellent idea for them to do, and just helps them look really cool and bring across that she is using magic and that she's not just having a hand cramp or something. So really do love these hands. First time in a long time where I haven't been disappointed by the selection of hands. So overall, love these hands, and they definitely look fantastic on her when she's, have her pose doing some sort of magic. She comes with the standard Age of Ultron base. The base follows the same theme as far as shape from the Guardians of the Galaxy line of their Hot Toys that came with bases like that. And this follows suit, looking quite nice. As you can see, I do like the chrome nameplates where you do have a really nice logo for Avengers Age of Ultron. You've got a little line and then the name of the figure. One thing that I definitely like is that it kind of feels... you can kind of hear that it's a bit of a rougher material on top, which looks good. And then I love the fact that the emblem there is like a really nice glossy, Avengers symbol, but with a Scarlet Witch theme to it, which is kind of neat, where you've got kind of that red energy. I think that was an excellent idea to give each base a logo from Avengers, but in the type of style of the character that the base was for. I think that's quite neat. She doesn't have the traditional cradle. She has more of the almost like a doll holder, which will actually just kind of wrap around her waist. I'm not quite sure why they did that. I mean, I don't know, like, because the other way would have worked just as well. I mean, she's wearing a skirt, so it would have been really easy to put on and everything, but I don't know why they particularly went with this. It's super sturdy and everything, which is really nice. I do find it a bit hard to get it around her waist, because you do have to kind of pull it open, and when it's extended more, it can be kind of hard to pull this open and have the figure go in at the same time. Kind of need like 3 hands for it. So overall, I do like the look of the base a lot. It is strange that it does come with a different style of cradle. However, I think that it works well, and looking quite nice as a base, and definitely fits in with the other Avengers Age of Ultron figures. She comes with 2 magic effect pieces. I'm really happy that they did include effect pieces with Scarlet Witch, and these were something that I was very much looking forward to when this first one on pre-order. Getting them in person, I find that I really just don't use them. They look really nice. I love the design that they have in them, and I love the colors, where it's like see-through with a bit of like kind of red dye splash throughout it. It's very neat. They kind of almost look like glass, which is definitely a very interesting look to them. They don't necessarily necessarily fit in her hands super well. There's kind of like a certain place where her hands kind of fit in. There's no like exact kind of you don't like lock her hands into these things. It's more of just kind of fitting the fingers through certain like loops and things like that to get it to kind of stay. Very similar to the electric blast that Electro came with, and how his hand actually fit in with the electricity. So these look quite nice. I personally find that her just expressive hands that are glowing red do the same type of thing. You know, you can kind of just picture the magic, and you don't necessarily need these. I thought that they'd be cooler than they actually are in person, but still quite nice, and I'm definitely happy that Hot Toys did include some effect pieces. One thing that I found that you can do with the effect pieces that I actually really do like is taking this Mark 1 Ultron damage piece that came with the Mark 43, and you can actually kind of stick the just one of the edges of the effect pieces, kind of like this little loop here. You can kind of fit that under his chest plate, which makes the effect piece kind of like stick up perfectly, and then you can just place the Ultron heart that she comes with on top, and then if you pose her, you know, kind of kneeling next to this, holding out her hand, it does actually look like she's making the Ultron heart kind of rise from the body. It's actually a really cool effect piece, and I certainly hope when the Ultron Prime comes out, there will be some sort of spot that you can kind of do the same type of thing with, because I think that it just looks pretty perfect the way that it's sticking up and kind of just like, you know, lifting the heart. I think does look quite neat. Speaking of the heart, she does obviously come with the Ultron, or the Ultimate Ultron heart, which I think is a really cool accessory. This is something that I was hoping before the figure went on pre-order that she would include or come with. I thought that it would probably be like an exclusive or something, but it is actually a regular release, which is exciting. So very happy to see that she actually does come with it. I think it looks quite nice. I mean, there's nothing spectacular with it or anything, but it's sculpted well. The red paint is applied very nicely and evenly around all of the little dots there. Looking very neat, and on the back, as you can see, really cool little accessory. Definitely not something that's completely necessary, but it's just something cool that she can come with. And it's always disappointing when I see a figure come out where I can come up with a bunch of different accessories that I would have liked them to come with. But here with Scarlet Witch, I really don't have that complaint. Hot Toys usually doesn't do effect pieces, but they did it this time. This heart is not necessary, but they did it, and they gave us a really nice range of hands. So this figure really comes with everything that you could want, which is kind of rare these days for Hot Toys. I feel like there's always at least one accessory or some more hands that I was hoping for and didn't get, but with this figure it doesn't seem to be the case. Now on to the actual figure. As you can see, just starting off with the likeness, I personally, when this one on pre-order and the pictures came out, I really thought the likeness was pretty spot on. I had heard complaints, there's hardly ever a figure that goes up where there isn't complaints about the likeness, but I did hear a lot of complaints about the likeness when this went on pre-order, and I really was not one of the people that thought there was any issue with it. I thought it looked pretty spectacular from all angles, and getting it in person, I feel the same way. I think that they have a nailed Elizabeth Olsen's likeness in this 1/6 scale figure, and I think that it just looks excellent. I really do see her likeness, and not just from some angles, but really from any angle. There isn't an angle where it looks bad. If anything, if it's off anywhere, it's mainly to do with the hair, just because obviously using actual a hair material like Hot Toys does with their women figures that have longer hair, sometimes it comes across just too puffy, or with all the little strands out. That's the only area where I can see the likeness being brought down, but the actual sculpt itself I think is excellent and really is quite perfect. So again, with the hair, I'm not a huge fan of them using this actual type of hair, although I really don't see much of a alternative, because they could do plastic, but then you wouldn't get any poses with it, and because it's such long hair it might look quite strange. So I don't have an alternative for them, but it is a shame that sometimes there's lots of little loose kind of threads of hair sticking out. You can use product to actually get it down, but I really don't want to put any sort of hair product on a figure. I don't want to ruin any part of it, so I never do that. And unfortunately, that means sometimes the figure does kind of is left looking a little bit more messy. However, I think the hair looks quite nice. They did actually I don't know what you'd call it. I don't want to say sculpted. They did make it quite well, and I do like the fact of how it's curled. It's curled very nicely, and it's all curled together. It looks very unified, and definitely very well done, in my opinion. And now going on to the actual costume, she does come with 2 necklaces. Both of those are not on her when you take her out of package. You will have to pop her head off and put them on. They both look quite nice. Not a whole lot of detail or much to talk about, but they do look quite nice. The actual clothing itself, though, you do have some red cloth underneath the black dress. It's not very visible at all, but going over the black dress, I think is quite nice. They've done it really well. You can see that there is a kind of almost like a really small kind of dotted pattern that goes throughout it, which looks quite nice. And I do like how it kind of folds up at the top there, and you can see there's just one button on it. It kind of poofs out a bit at the bottom. I'm not quite sure what causes this, if they could have fixed this at all, but it does kind of poof out, a bit sometimes. You kind of have to just kind of push it down a bit and it will still kind of pop up, which is a bit annoying, but it's certainly not something that looks really bad or anything. I am noticing there's a little thread that's coming off there. Might want to look out for that on yours. She does have like a little underskirt there, which is actually, there's some great detail at the bottom of it that does go all the way around, looking quite nice. I do have to say, it's a shame, it's a costume detail that is really, a lot of detail there, but you never actually see it. But overall, the black skirt does look quite nice. She does come with a faux leather kind of short sleeve jacket, which looks really cool. I like the stitching on it a lot, and luckily it does not hinder her articulation very much at all when it comes to the shoulders or elbows. It's actually short enough that if you wanted to, you could really push it up and get almost a complete range of movement with the elbows, although it does hinder it a bit if you have it completely down. But it's down far enough to hide the joint, which means they didn't have to, actually do rubber arms, which I love. A lot of times with the women figures, we get a lot of rubber arms, like Gamora and now the new Wonder Woman, a lot of rubber at the elbows and things like that, and I'd much prefer to stay away from rubber on these Hot Toys figures, so it is nice that her clothing just hides the spots of her joints, so very happy about that. She does kind of have like these wrist warmers, I guess you can call them. I'm not quite sure. They do look quite nice, and they're very flexible, so they don't hinder articulation at all. You can see a bit of like a zipper stitching pattern, although it's not a real zipper, and she has that on both sides. Going down, she has like these stockings on, which look quite cool. They look really like they look very manually weathered, not like they're battle damaged or anything, but they have like a lot of little, almost like the fabrics coming apart, and you can start to see like the color of her skin underneath it. I think it looks quite cool. They do fold down a bit. You can just push them back up to completely cover the joint, which is awesome. Same thing with the elbows. Again, they didn't need to use any sort of rubber because of these little stockings just hide the joints, which is awesome. And then I really do love the boots. They're kind of smaller boots, but they look quite nice. The only thing I don't like is the fact that the top of them is so wide that I figured that she'd have good ankle articulation, but she really doesn't have like any ankle articulation at all other than just a swivel. Really no pivot or hinge in there, which is definitely quite a shame. And really something that I don't understand, because there's enough room at the top where they should have been able to add some decent articulation, but unfortunately it is not the case. So in total, really do like the design of her costume. I think not only is it a pretty neat design in the movie, but the figure does represent it quite nicely, and I do like it a lot. And obviously with the new Scarlet Witch coming out in Civil War, we're going to get a new figure, which has been shown at many events, and you really can pick whether you kind of like this look or the costume look, basically, because in Civil War she actually has like a full-on Scarlet Witch costume, but I have to say I like this. I think that I probably like it better, because it's kind of more real world. It's kind of like the beginning of the Marvel movies, when they try to make their costumes a bit more real world, particularly with Iron Man and with Captain America. Their costumes fit the more realistic tone of the movies. Nowadays, with the superhero movies, they're going a little bit more comic on us, which, I'm fine with and everything, but I do like this type of costume, which clearly you're not going to see somebody walking on the street wearing this. However, it's not something that's super far off or anything, It doesn't look like a superhero costume, but yet it still is odd enough to be considered a more of a special character, basically. So I really do actually like this costume a lot, and definitely, I might get the Civil War one, but if I just had to pick between the two, I think I would stick with this one, just because I like the costume quite a lot. Going over articulation, so I did slightly cover this in some spots during my when I was talking about the costume, but the articulation on this figure is really nice, and that's something that I'm really happy about. That, you know, even though she does have clothing that's covering her joints, they still they don't hinder the articulation of the joints, which is awesome. First of all, the head, full articulation, no issue, and obviously with the fabric hair, you know, there's no hindrance of there at all, so that's very nice. The shoulders really do have full movement, although it's a faux leather, it's, you know, it's a thicker material. However, it really doesn't hinder it very much at all. As you can see, getting the arm up quite nice there, you can go, whoa, I have popped it out of the socket. That's really weird. That's never happened to me. It's just a ball joint though, so it goes right in. Let me do that. Alright, it's back. You know, when I was doing that and I heard the pop, it didn't sound like anything broke. It really just sounded like the joint came out of place. But I was still, you know, couldn't help getting a bit worried. Luckily, that was just the case. The ball joint just came off. You know, just pop it back in, easy peasy. So, you know, and the reason that happened, I did check, is that the joint, just that's as far up as it could go. So it's the clothing doesn't hinder it at all. As you can see, the only thing that would hinder it, like you just saw, is the restriction of the physical joint. So great articulation. The shoulders really not hindered at all. With the elbows, the body has a double hinge, and it works just pretty perfectly even with wearing the clothing. The clothing really only hinders the one hinge, but not very much at all, and then the second hinge has full range, so you can really get her arm completely close and no issue whatsoever. Full, you know, ball hinge on the wrist like usual. She has a ball jointed upper torso, however she has a rubber body, so it's basically you have full range except for what the you know, what the rubber will kind of hinder it with a bit, but not very much at all. You do have basically a full ball joint at the torso there. Thighs are ball jointed. The only thing that they're hindered on is the fact that she does have a rubber at the bottom, so if you pull her leg up, you know, excuse me for kind of lifting up the skirt here, but if you pull the leg up, you will get the rubber that hinges, or that creases really badly. So I'm not quite sure if in the future there'll be any issue with that, with the rubber, you know, breaking or anything. So I'm not quite sure, but I just say take a little precaution, just make sure that the rubber isn't wrinkling too much. However, like you saw, you do have full range there. The leg can kick up and go out extremely far, which is awesome. Double hinge knees, which aren't hindered at all with the costume, as you can see, but even if you were worried that the costume would hinder it, you just have to push down the costume, and then there's no hindrance whatsoever. So really quite amazing there. And then, like I mentioned, the ankles, basically no articulation other than maybe slight up and down and a swivel, but there's no tilt to it. There's no you know, kind of rocker joint there, which is definitely a shame and something that I was really hoping for, because I didn't see why it would be hindered. So articulation on this figure is top notch. You know, it's one of the best articulated clothed figures that I have. You know, obviously the Iron Man figures are the only ones that can compete with this sort of articulation, but their joints are all fully shown. So this is probably the best articulated clothed figure that I own, and extremely impressive. And one of the reasons I was so excited for it was that I could tell that a lot of these joints weren't hindered, which is just so cool, and definitely not what you're used to seeing with Hot Toys for the most part. Alright, so size-wise, we have Scarlet Witch here with Black Widow and Gamora, and as you can see, Scarlet Witch is quite short. She's shorter than both of them. She's one of the shortest Hot Toys that I have, I think. And, you know, this did surprise me. I expected her to basically just be as tall as Black Widow. Black Widow is a bit taller than her, Gamora is a bit taller than her, and I will compare her in a second here to Winter Soldier, and she's incredibly shorter than him. I did actually research this to see what's accurate here, and Elizabeth Olsen is 5'6". Black Widow is, or, you know, Scarlett Johansson is 5'3", so you know, obviously we have a discrepancy there, since Black Widow is taller than Scarlet Witch, when in real life she should be 3 inches shorter, so there's an issue there. I wasn't sure if that's an issue with Black Widow, though, or Scarlet Witch. I looked it up, and Zoe Zadana, I think I'm pronouncing her last name wrong there, though, but Gamora, she's 5'6.5", so she should be just about as tall as Scarlet Witch, and she's slightly taller than Scarlet Witch. I think that, you know, even though in real life she's a half an inch taller, this is more of a difference than we would have actually have seen. So I think that Scarlet Witch is slightly shorter than she should be, but it really is just slightly shorter than she should be. And it's Black Widow who is, taller than she should be too. So there's I think that she's slightly too small. Which is unfortunate, but it's not anything too crazy. When she's standing next to the guys, though, she really does look quite short. Taking Gamora out and replacing her with the Winter Soldier. As you can see, she is much shorter than the Winter Soldier. However, in real life, Sebastian Stan is 6 foot exactly. So, they do have a big height difference in real life. So I think that's a pretty fair scale there. She should obviously be taller than Black Widow, though, which isn't the case. And so I think that she's slightly too small, but nothing major. But just when you take out all of the exact measurements aside, she does come across as quite a short figure. But for the most part, that is accurate. So there you go. There's the size comparison with Scarlet Witch with some of the other Hot Toys figures. So overall, I really do love the Scarlet Witch figure. It doesn't happen very often where a figure comes out and I really have everything that I could want with it. Most times there's accessories that I was hoping it would come with that it doesn't. And in almost 100% of every case that a Hot Toys figure comes out, there are certainly hands that I would have liked to see. Because Hot Toys really doesn't give us a lot of expressive hands. They give us, the standard hands, fists, relaxed palms, and hands meant for holding whatever accessories they come with, but they don't often, and certainly not often anymore, give us expressive hands. And this figure is the complete opposite. Comes with just she doesn't come with the basic hands. We don't get a pair of fists with her, but we get crazy, almost like creepy, styled hands, which looks awesome, completely fits the character, and is completely everything I would want accessory-wise. She comes with everything. I can't think of another accessory that I'd like to see her come with. The only thing that I would like to see, but that's ridiculous to ask for, is a different head expression, where she's just kind of like yelling, because obviously with her powers, she can, you want to put her in like a really powerful stance. And especially, if you want to reenact her, kind of feeling that her brother just died, that would be great to get a nice screaming head sculpt. Would have been awesome. Hot Toys doesn't do expression very much, though, which I think is another thing that they're missing out on. But so that's not something that's necessary. That would have just been cool. But she comes with everything I could want. The costume itself looks fantastic, super well tailored, and completely well realized. It's awesome to get a woman figure that doesn't have any rubber joints. Obviously it has a rubber body, but most Hot Toys do, so that's not a complaint. And then articulation-wise, not hindered whatsoever. The only area their articulation is a bit, that lets it down a bit, is the articulation in the ankles. But overall, an excellent figure. Comes with everything I could have wanted, and I would highly recommend this figure. Really only wait for the Civil War one if you prefer that costume, but figure-wise, this one is definitely fantastic.